Hey guys, how are you? This is the UNIE-fy podcast powered by UNIE, where we unite businesses, communities, and family. And today we have an incredible guest, Brad Leavitt with AFT Construction. Brad, dude, thanks for being here, man.
3, 2, 1.
Excited to be here. I'd do anything for you, Dusty. So
Dude,
thanks for the invite, man.
likewise, man. I would literally do anything for you. You're one of the best people I've ever met in my life. So.
Likewise. I mean, I have a nice watch. I meant to wear it today, and I totally forgot to put on this
dude.
morning. So
Thanks
to you.
Hey, I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for everything you've done for me. But, dude, what a world we live in, right? It's amazing that you can build a $50 or $60 million house and make a living doing that. So, I mean, dude, tell me a little bit about how things are going, man. So how long ago did you found AFT?
So 12 years ago. So started in March of 2013. So we just had our 12-year anniversary, which is pretty exciting. And
Dang, congrats.
yeah, thanks. Had a little get together, and construction is kind of an interesting business. It's funny. I grew up in the trades in San Diego, and went to college, did construction management, and I think small business in itself is really challenging. Entrepreneurship's challenging. I mean, this has been staple in your career, Dusty. And there's, it's pretty lonely mountain at times. And I remember being in business like 5 years, and I'm like, can people make money in construction?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
is this a trade I can do? And fortunately meeting great entrepreneurs such as yourself and other business owners, you kind of lean on them a little bit and get some key points and tactics and strategy and try to implement that into construction, which, as I mean, you have experience in so many different industries that construction is like the Wild West. So it's a little bit tougher to tame, our
Well, it
audience.
is. And that's, I think, I have so many questions for you, but it is the Wild West.
Yeah.
Why do you feel? I feel like so many people oh, I'm going to hire a contractor. This guy, oh, now I'm suing a contractor. Oh, this guy screwed me out of $250,000, or my house is falling apart. Or why do you feel like it is the Wild West? Why is it why, I hate to use the word, but why is it so shady? Why do you feel like there's so much corruption in it?
The corruption, I think there's two parts to that question. The corruption I'll come back to. I think in itself, construction is very complicated. It doesn't seem complicated. Most people think hey, anyone can hold a hammer. You can pound a nail. You can go put something in. The projects we build, not just AFT, but I think anyone, even production builders, they're very complicated, right?
Dude.
People are living in them. There's health concerns. There's mold. There's waterproofing, and the manufacturers, are selling product that may or may not perform. It may or may not be installed correctly, and then the labor force. A lot of times, there's language barriers. There's it's low barrier for entry, so anyone could be a framer and then decide, hey, I'm going to start a framing company without understanding business. And so I think how that leads into the comment of corruption or fraud. It happens a lot. I mean, I get burned by some of my trade partners. It's happened to me because, to that point, low barrier for entry.
Send me their numbers or their address. I'm going there right after this, dude.
So the problem is it's fairly easy to get a license and start a business.
Okay, so barrier of entry is probably too easy.
It's too easy.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to people that come out of college. You go to college and you may be book smart, but you don't know how to run a business and how to make a deal and how to operate and cash flow, right? They don't teach you that. I went to college, they didn't teach me that. Running a business is no different. So you have people that are very skilled in their craft, trim carpentry, framing, concrete, but they don't know how to run the business. And what ends up happening is, you see this a lot. It's rob 'em Peter, pay Paul. So I think most people in general aren't unethical people, but they really don't understand. They think there's money in the account, but they don't understand their deposits and supplier cost and even their own cost. They don't understand their own cost of manpower.
So you think
And
they
it gets
back
away from them.
themselves into corners that they can't get out of, and it's not that they're shady or dishonest by nature. They just get to a point to where they have to make ends meet, and that means they're essentially screwing people over.
90% of probably construction companies that fail are robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
They are waiting for that next big break, or they're not understanding their costs, or projects are taking longer than they quoted, and so they're underwater, and it continues to escalate on them.
Jeez.
And they get behind. And so, that goes back to how many people really understand, their WIP, their work in progress, the AP and AR that go with it, and what does it really cost me to stay in business? what does it cost to get the sale, to keep the sale? What does it cost to warranty a project? Like, and so a lot of them aren't running KPIs or metrics or analysis on their company. And they just, whether they're a trade partner or they're a general contractor, it gets away from them. And unfortunately, clients such as yourself or myself as a general contractor, we pay for that, whether it be reputation or, in the pocketbook.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, you just gave me like a laundry list, like 20 things of how hard it is. And that's probably for that's maybe for a spec or like a track home builder.
Right.
Now that's like here. And then Brad Leavitt comes in and says, hey, I'm going to build the Taj Mahal of homes in Paradise Valley and Scottsdale. Like unbelievable. Some of these projects, that you're able to accomplish and able to do. MG, pull up some of these. I want to pull up some of these so some of the viewers can see this. This is crazy. So what would you say right now is kind of an average? Go down a little bit there. Look at that. That's insane. The one on the bottom right.
Yeah, that's a great house.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that one's been published, and we get a lot of still feedback on that home. In fact, we were just with the clients yesterday doing some.
Saguaro Grove. That's insane.
Yeah, it's a great house.
So what would you say? This seems like you're doing the impossible every day when I look at this. So like, what is your average, kind of price point on home that you're?
It's a good question. I mean, there's so many variables, and I will give our price point. I'm not,
No,
shy
I mean more of like total budget for the consumer, not your price per square foot. Like,
oh, you don't want I was going to give you the price per square foot.
let's do it, man.
Yeah, I
I'm
figured
ready.
that's probably easier. And then people kind of run the math based on what they assume it to be. Before I answer that, what's funny is, I'll have clients say, hey, Brad, how much is your cost per square foot? I'm like, I don't know. What does it cost for a bag of groceries?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what are you shopping for? Are you, are we filling the shopping cart full of steaks and fillets, or like, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
And the point being is that this goes back to the complication of building. Our projects could be on a flat lot. They could be on farmland. They could be in Scottsdale where the soil is probably more rocky. And so that plays a big role, because as just for landscapers, put in drip lines. Like if there's rocks there, you got to backfill your,
a 50,000 excavation that like you wouldn't have on farm.
Right. I mean, our Modern Sunset project, which people can scroll through, I mean, it $2 million of site work. I mean, this is a 1,000-foot driveway up a 14-acre private property mountain, and the house is cantilevered off. So every house is so unique because of variables. And so with that being said, on a conservative side, we have clients around $500 a square foot, up to $1,500 a foot.
Jeez.
So, I mean, there's a big range. That's $1,000 a square foot just between high and low. And most people would be like $1,000 a foot for a house is a lot. So, there's variables depending. And one thing I always tell our clients is, going back to the shopping cart analogy, something that you have to understand is economies of scale. And what I mean by that, if you're on the same hillside and you're doing a 3,000 square foot house, or you're doing a 10,000 square foot house, I mean, this is the exact same hillside. Mm-hmm. Same driveway has to be built. What people don't understand is the kitchen is the most expensive part of the house. Right. So every house has to have a kitchen. You got to bring the utilities up. You have to build the driveway. You have to build the retaining walls. And the problem at a 3,000 is that total cost, that cost to build the driveway, that cost of the kitchen, doesn't get divided by as much square feet. So your square foot price is much higher.
Jeez.
Right? And, if you're doing a basement, that's more expensive as opposed to single story. 2 stories going to be less expensive. So 2 stories probably typically the least expensive. Single story would be more than that. And a basement is even more than that. So again, over years of business, you understand how to communicate this with customers and set the expectation, so that you can ideally give them a price and deliver on that, years down the road when the house is done.
So how many awkward moments have you had where like people are like, oh, we've saved up money. We're good to go. We want to build our dream house. We have $2 million in our bank account. And it's just like they start to dive into it and they're like, whoa, we are so far off. Like, do you feel like that happens quite a bit where people don't understand the true cost?
Yeah. And I would say the advantage at this point in my career is we had that conversation much earlier. There's an incredible player right now for the Arizona Cardinals. Great guy. And we've had great communication. And, in fairness to the NFL guys, it's, not for long, right? They don't last very long. Right. The contracts aren't, it's not like an NBA and MLB where it's guaranteed contracts. The reason I bring it up is because they had a budget similar to what you had just mentioned. And they had this big dream of a house. And I had to set the expectation of, this is the reality of what this will cost and the duration. He said, okay, Brad, I need to wait till contract number 2. And so the thing is, but by having that conversation now, he hadn't spent any money on architecture, on design, on the land. I mean, he just he actually owned the land because he had got it from, a connection of his. But So he has the land, which is an asset that sometime he could probably flip or sell. But the point being is that, our job we have core values at AFT. Number one core value is be a good steward of our client's investment. And I'm an open book, cost plus contractor. I share all my invoices, all my pricing. I tell my clients they can audit us. And so I do that because these are very complicated builds. And we want to put them in a position where they know we have their best interests at mind, and we're here to protect them.
Yeah, you're a consultant more than you are, like at uni, we position ourselves the same way. Like we're manufacture bespoke custom garments, and people think we just want to slap a catalog in front of them. They order it and we try and mark it up. It's like, no, we're on the same side of the table as you. We want to go to battle with you, and we want to get you, manufactured or constructed, exactly what you want. And we'll take our fee along the way, and we have our markup, but we're on the same team. And I think I've talked to so many people that you've built for, and I feel like you align more on that side of the table, and you're able to do that, better than anyone. So,
well, I think to your point, you're the guide, right? If you want to be the expert at business, whatever your focus is, you have to be the guide. So if you go to the AFT website, we have like this 15-page brochure they can download, and it's just a guide. Like it's walking them through. If you want to build a custom home, what are the process, right? My job. I'm colorblind. I tell people that because I'm like
MG is actually colorblind.
I'm
so.
like crazy colorblind, right? I ask my daughters if I match sometimes.
That's crazy.
But,
do you like our monochrome, like black, tan?
That's why I like Dusty.
Cool.
That's why I've connected. I'm
I like your brand, dude.
You're like,
Brad,
you need like black matte. Like I'm like, perfect. I can get behind that.
Yeah, this is actually purple and orange and green. So,
so I just laugh because the thing is like, I'm not a decision maker, right? And I learned this early in my career. We work with very sophisticated architects and designers, and we execute. We're directors. We're directing traffic. We're conducting. We're the guide for the client. Our job is to take the client. Brian Harris, who you probably know, who's one of our repeat clients. We've done a couple homes for him.
Yeah, shout out Brian. I mean, look at these things.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, mine too.
There you go, bro.
So Brian,
dude, he should be sponsoring.
He should be. I mean, the fun thing. Okay, I got to come back to cross collaboration and branding and all that, but with Brian. But the funny thing about Brian is when we did his first home, he's like, AFT saving marriages one house at a time, right? You think about how complicated building is, how, building a custom home, how constrained a marriage and relationship. And the whole point is that if you understand your role as a builder, that you're the guide and you're guiding all the chaotic, all this chaotic stuff happening, and you're making it calm for the client, that's my job.
But that's crazy. Talk a little bit more about that, because I feel like as a creative, I get I'm OCD, I'm a creative. I have things that I envision and I want them to go a certain way. And that's, and my team's amazing at helping me get that. But when you start to include like a husband and a wife who probably have two completely different perspectives on what they want,
as they always
tie
do.
that to financial, the finance, the budget, insane. Okay, then you get some of these designers. We love designers. They make our lives easy, but also I feel like a lot of designers might start pushing their agendas. And then you have an architect who wants it to be so you're not only managing, you're managing, and then all these trades that have to do this, dude, you got to have some horror stories or some crazy things of where you're managing everyone's creative, perspective on things. Talk about how hard that is, and how do you do that?
So I learned painfully probably 6 or 7 years ago of deciding as you go, letting the creative take over. And what I mean is, fast forward, I had a builder call me, 4 years ago, and he said, Brad, when should the client make all the selections at frame stage? And I'm like, why have you broken ground? Because to answer that, really, you can be as creative as you want. The husband and wife could be as different as they want. The whole point, the reason, coming back to the guide thing, our superpower, strong suit at AFT is we're going to work at pre-con, get everything decided, so then that way we can limit change orders and duration and complication, so that when we actually go vertical and break ground, we're actually just guiding. Again, every client's going to make changes. It happens, but at least we have a base and a template. We're on the same page.
You're putting that Lego set together. Here's the instructions. Go do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
And even then, Dusty, even when I have a 4-page binder of selections and 200 pages of architectural plans, it is so complicated, right? And it's, even at AFT, we're not perfect. I mean, these homes have thousands of people that at some point will touch and fill that house and install something all by hand, right? You have suppliers involved. I mean, they're so complicated. You have to check details. So just one fun example, we're gonna
give me give me a story to where you were like, oh my gosh,
like bad costly one.
Yeah, we're the creative, or just give me the best story ever.
Sure. Well, I have a lot of stories. So
I know you do.
I could take you a lot of different ways.
Like, I'm sure you've seen some crazy blow ups, like at walkthroughs or meetings or drama. Like, this is crazy what you go through, dude. You need
Sure,
your
I'll
own
give one,
reality
and I
show.
won't tell you the project. But
No.
going back to the blow up one, this will be funny. So we had a house that we just finished a little while back, and we get a call back, and the client's like, "There's a terrible smell coming out of our closet," and we're like, "That's weird. Like, there's a plumbing leak or there's a gas leak." They're like, "There's something wrong." So our team comes in, and we can't figure out the smell, but it does smell bad. Like, it's terrible. The whole master suite, there's this awful smell. And we're like, we can't figure this out. And so fortunately, what we do, going back to, years of business expertise, we do what's called a Matterport. Anyone in real estate, you go scan the house. So we do 2 Matterports. We do one right before we drywall the house. So that way you have you can see the skeleton of the home, right? Right before we drywall.
Matterport's so sick.
It's awesome because it's by dimension, and we do it scaled. So it's like by the 16th of an inch. I mean, it's super detailed.
So just for the listeners, it's basically a 3D scan at framing, right?
Yes.
And after rough plumbing and electric, so you can see where everything is before it gets drywalled.
You can see every gas line. You can see every light fixture, wiring,
And then
Romex.
They get a
outlet.
login, and then they can forever they can go and check.
Forever they can
That's
see
super
structural.
cool.
I mean, you see where beams and trusses are if you're hanging mirrors or lighting or whatever. So we do this Matterport, and then at the final end, we do it when furniture's in and everything's done, and we have these 2 things. So we go back to the Matterport. We're looking at this part of the closet, and we're like, there's nothing in this wall. Like, there's no plumbing, there's no gas, like there's nothing. Is there like a dead animal on the wall? And so we go to the client, and we're like, we think there's something that's not relevant to us, and the client's like losing their mind. They're like, "This is you guys don't know what you're doing," like freaking out. So my director of warranty, John, goes in, and he's like, "We're just gonna do the old school sniff test." And they start sniffing all around the closet, and they get to this bag, this gym bag. He's like, "It's that bag." Like, I know it's
the
this
client's gym bag.
The client's gym bag.
closet.
He's like, "It's the client's gym bag for sure." Like, it's not these shoes. It's not us. I'm telling you, it's not from the wall. We're running, and keep in mind, we're running diagnostics. Like, are there water leaks? We had people come in. So we've already spent all this time. And he's like, "It's the
money,
client's gym
effort.
bag."
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes to the client, and he's like, "I think it's your gym bag." And the client like flips. "How would you say that? There's no way. Like, it's no way." Because one thing he did leading up to that, they took the gym bag and moved it to another part of the home. And the next day, like, the closet was fine.
Yeah.
But this area didn't smell so
No
good.
way.
So, keep in mind, this has been going on for about 3 weeks. And so he goes to the client. He's like, "Look, I'm not trying to offend you, but I really think it's your gym bag." And the client just like loses his damn mind. So he unzips it, and he pulls out a dead rabbit
No way.
out of his gym bag. And he's like, "I'm really sorry." And we're like, "Who has a dead rabbit in their gym bag?"
What?
He said, "Well, we were out hiking, and we found this rabbit. I put it in, and I was going to throw it away, and I forgot. And I just put it in my gym bag, and it was in a plastic bag."
Oh,
and
my
so,
God.
it's just sometimes you take the brunt of these things. And in fairness to the client, and this is where I'll tee up the client to be fair to him, is we had a trade partner that was probably one of the worst experiences we have with the trade, which sometimes happen. And there were some water leaks that happened throughout the build from this plumber, because they did a terrible job. And so, they, in fairness to the client, they've had this mentality that we've had this issue, and now we have this. And they forget about the dead rabbit in their bag. So,
Right.
a true story, and, thankfully.
Well, that's their paradigm, right? They're
Yeah, and I've really never shared this, and so I'm not going to, I don't think anyone would know who the client is, because this was a very one-on-one situation.
No, I'm
but-
sure they didn't tell anyone, "Hey, I'm the guy who pulled a dead rabbit out of my gym bag after I
So-
yelled at my contractor."
Yeah, so that was.
Unreal.
That's one of those experiences, but, in fairness to clients, there's mistakes we make as builders too. There are things that oversight. In fact, just coming to this meeting, I'm pretty open about, the battle wounds, the mistakes, because we learn from those, right? And we had a project, again, what I try to set the expectation with clients is there's thousands and millions of details in these homes. There's so many. And we had a client that wanted an add-on to the pool, and it was a pool heater and a different feature. Bottom line is, we have a really expert trade partner. We've communicated. I mean, this has been 2 years in the making. Get this part, we pay them, the change orders are executed. The pool starts completed. It's all up and running. Everything's good. Come to find out, the trade partner never installed it.
Jeez.
Didn't notify us. And now the client's, livid, like, "Hey, Brad, how could you miss this?" And so what's really tough as the builder, and I'll even say, and this is a different pool company, I guess I'm picking on pool companies here, but in December, we were closing a house, and the client had a very specific interior finish for their pool. And we do everything we can to have our ducks in a row. So We have it on paperwork. The morning of, we're calling the company that's going to come do the interior. Hey, make sure you have this correct pool finish. Like, it's all the document. They show up, paperwork's there, and they do the finish. And then we realize that that finish is the wrong color. They had mixed the dye and messed up, and it's like, now the client's freaking out, like, how could this happen? And we're like, hey, we're there. Like, every check and balance is taken, and yet mistakes do happen.
Yeah.
And so it's just, again, this goes back to, and to your point about corruption, if that subcontractor isn't financially flush and they're coming out to dig out a pool and redo that interior, that's a very costly mistake that they made that they have to do at their own accord. And if they're not planning correctly, that could put companies under. And then, me as a general contractor, we're left holding the bag.
Jeez.
So just a day in the life as a GC.
That's crazy. I bet you have 100 more stories
Oh,
like
yeah,
that
I could
too.
go on for a long time.
So, I mean, you're probably the premier custom home builder in the Valley here, for sure one of the top 3. I mean, what you do is unbelievable. I always like to ask people, was there ever like a pivotal, like, I'm sure it wasn't always just, butterflies and rainbows and just, on a great hockey stick trajectory. Like, people like to think that, owning a business is like, was there ever like a day where you had to draw a line in the sand where there was like, hey, we have to do things different, or like a pivotal moment where you saw things completely change for you?
It's a great question, Dusty. And I kind of alluded to this, it's like people may look at Instagram and be like, oh, AFT, overnight success, 25 years in the making, even though I've had my company for 12, there's like years of experience. But the point being is there was a tipping point where I remember like looking in the mirror, like, can people make a living doing this? And I'm like, I was just about to change careers. Like, I'm like, I can't do this. It's too hard. It's too difficult. I can't get traction. I can't get the ideal client, the right project. I can't take off. And, I was just struggling. And fortunately, I had, again, being young when I started my company, I didn't have years of credibility in the market. And so I wasn't getting invited to the table with these top architects and designers in town. I would call them, I'd email them, but they're not going to respond to me. Like, I'm a nobody.
Club, dude. It really is.
It is an elite club, and it's a club that's pretty tight knit. I always call it like a good old boys club because a lot of them have been around a long time. And I just couldn't break into that market. And so the way we were formatted, and so what I started doing is posting every day on LinkedIn, because I think LinkedIn is probably one of the greatest platforms out there, social media. It's one of the true organic platforms, unlike the pay-for-play Instagram. And
I don't think people use it enough either.
No one does. And so fortunately through LinkedIn, where I'm going is I built some connections where these same markets. So it's kind of this same tipping point where I'm like, I don't think I can keep AFT in business anymore. It's time to shut down and change careers.
How many years, give or take, were you?
This is about 5.5 years in business.
Wow.
So it's not, this isn't like day.
That's funny because a lot of my stories like that are about 5-6 years.
It is.
It's kind of like.
Because there comes this point where you're like, okay, I'm getting a job, but then you kind of hit this plateau and you're like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
And then, the costs start coming in, right? Because you have to hire people, you get more jobs, but then are you making money? I mean, it's very complicated. And so through LinkedIn, 2 things happen simultaneously. One, these same architects that I had been after, all of a sudden were like, hey, Brad, we're trying to figure out our social media. Will you have lunch with me? And so now I'm sitting there across from having lunch with these esteemed, you get these esteemed, architects and designers that wouldn't give me the time of day, but now I'm consulting them on their social media. And so now it's like, okay, now we're going to find a project. And then at the same time, there was a builder who's Cullum Homes, who's been in Rod Cullum. He's, probably one of the longest standing, staples in town. Been building for a really long time, and he just retired. But he told me, he said, Brad, what changed my career was getting involved in a Builder 20. And a Builder 20 is a group of 20 masterminds, so a group of 20 builders across the country. They don't compete. And he said, you need to get into Builder 20, right, to understand systems and profitability and markup and all these things. And it just so happened he was talking to me about that, and 2 weeks later, I get a DM on Instagram. And it's from someone in Ohio that said, Brad, I've been following you on LinkedIn, and I was a guest on a podcast. And he's like, we have 19 builders in our Builder 20, Dallas and Beverly Hills and New York and Boston and all over the country. We need someone in Scottsdale. And I would have known what that was had the builder not told me. Again, the LinkedIn social media side I was doing. So I said, I'm in. And I was invited to Charleston, South Carolina, where one of the builders is based. All 19 of them voted me in. And it changed my entire career because I learned, and this was like, again, this is 6 years ago. So year 6 where I'm struggling, to 6 years ago, the last 6 years, how that's changed, because through that Builder 20, they do what's called a SWOT, right? Strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threats. So 5 of these builders on their own dime fly to Scottsdale. They interview clients, trade partners, subcontractors, suppliers, architects, designers, and every single employee I had. And they come to me, this is 3-day evaluation of my business. And they said, Brad, here are your weaknesses. X, Y, and Z. Here are the threats to your company to stay in business. Here's opportunities you have based on reputation and feedback and what we see. And then here's your strength, right? You have people that will like go to bat for you because they believe you and they like you as a person. But you have people on the bus. Most of them are the right people that should be on the bus, but most of them are in the wrong seat, right? And so understanding that right seat, right people on the bus, and the right seat on the bus. And immediately I made some drastic changes to the company, and it totally changed our business.
Cool.
And here we are, 12 years later. So, you look at this like, oh, it's just, you go build this. But I mean, this has been painful, years and years, and a dead rabbit here or there where you're just like, why do I do this?
You want to be pulling a rabbit out of a hat, not out of a gym bag that's been sitting there for a month.
Yeah.
Well, that's so crazy. So you talked a lot about social and LinkedIn and whatever. Like, you're like the guy for builders now. Now that's crazy. I didn't know that part of it because, so they were like, hey, get involved, help us with social, get in this brotherhood, this community or whatever it is. And now I'm sure like now you're the guy. Like you're iconic in the way that you present your homes, the way that you're pretty much an influencer at this point for the building community. So, I mean,
very fortunate that way. I mean, I didn't plan for that to be the case. It kind of happens. But to your point, like these same architects are now, I'm doing projects with all of them, all these designers. And in fact, some other ones, like there's a very signature one in North Scottsdale that to date I haven't worked with, but he's followed us forever. And he's like, we need to do a project. And now we have this incredible project coming. I mean, this would be an insane project that we're going to be doing together. And so it has put us at the table where people want to be part of our platform.
That's so.
And real quick, in the Builder 20 thing that's kind of funny is, what's fortunate about the Builder 20 that I was invited to, this is the first one that started in 1994. I mean, these guys that have been in 30 years, right? So think about it. They all were in their late 20s, so they're on their late 50s now. They've been building for 30 years. They've had this tight-knit group, and they're like, hey, Brad, our kids are at the point where they're going to take over our business. Can you help us with social media? We'll help you run your business. And so the social media was a way for me to get into the Builder 20, as well as at the table with these architects and designers in town and nationally. And
it's full circle.
Yeah.
And so how are you balancing? Because like you put a lot of effort into social. Like you're always, you're very, very good at it. You're phenomenal at it. So is there ever a time where you're like, do I need to spend more time on my actual business? And this is like, I don't want this podcast to ever be like, I don't, the whole reason like we do this is because we want to give really valuable feedback to our listeners in the community to help them build their businesses and know how to balance. For me, I probably struggle with it. I think you might struggle with it. How do you balance like, hey, am I an influencer? How much time do I need to put into social? How much is there an actual ROI on it versus me actually focusing on the business? Like, how do you balance those two, and how important do you think that is?
Well, there's a lot of directions. I think personal branding is permanent job security, right? So there's an element to called the influencer side that's going to lead into business development. Like that's 101. I remember one of the most painful lessons I learned when I was out of college. I was fortunate to work at the Omni Mauna Lucia in Paradise Valley, $300 million property. And at the time, our company was booming, 300 employees. We had so much work and leads were coming in. And, we were so vested in this huge project. Our owner was like, I remember sitting at the conference table and he said, I need another job. Like I need a hole in my head. They had quit marketing. And then all of a sudden, we all know what happened in 2008 and 9, right? Yep. And the faucet turned off, and this company went from 300 employees down to like 20. Jeez. And so the point being is you can never sell enough. You always have to be selling. You always have to be branding your company in a way. Social media is a way where, I was always marketing not where I was today, but where I'd be in 5 years, right? And a lot of, especially early on, how I used social media was showing the process. People, it's one thing to show a pretty kitchen, but if they go on our YouTube and other aspects of the podcast, like there's informative stuff about what we do, right? I show site cleanliness and people are attracted to that. Those are pain points of customers, right? I show process stuff that we do, and that way, you want to create yourself as like a thought leader in the industry because it does give credibility. And so that, again, you made a comment working in your business. if you want to escalate or scale or get to the next level, you always have to understand, what the process looks like, how your systems play a role in that, and how you can get out of the day-to-day so you can focus on operations and new software, maybe financial or, AI or different things that are going to help elevate your business so that those in the field, and that's something that's unique is like, I'm not interfacing with the client typically day-to-day, rarely. I mean, maybe once a quarter, maybe once a month, because my team is operating in the field, but now I can focus on the business, whether it be business development or marketing strategy or systems or operation or communication and other platforms.
So I think that's like, it's a testament to how, if you build proper systems and you have everyone running on their KPIs and everything's dialed, it gives you the ability to do what you're great at as a marketer, as an entrepreneur. And I think that's probably what most businesses, small, businesses or entrepreneurs are going to struggle with, is they never probably get their systems in order, so that they never actually have the luxury of putting their creative efforts and, their budgets into, social media.
Yeah, if you don't have systems, and this took me a long time to understand, and really that tipping point 6 years in, is if you have systems in operation and you understand how that baton's passed throughout the organization, like the way it applies to me as a builder, the minute that phone rings for a job lead till they move in and we're, servicing the client as they move in and warranty, if you understand every process of that and how you can be successful, then you can actually hire people. Because a lot of people, as an entrepreneur, it's really hard. We're control freaks, right? I mean, it's our baby, our creation. We know the ins and outs. We don't have to be told what to do. And it's really hard to hand that off to somebody and make sure that they're going to do it just as good as us, right? And part of that is, in the defense of those we bring into the company culture, they get frustrated because you could bring on really talented people, but if they don't know what's going to make them successful or the business successful, they're going to leave and you're going to have high turnover. So if you want to solve retention, if you want to solve turnover, if you want to solve company culture and happy clients, like you have to understand, how do I onboard people? Do we have systems in place that they can operate, even in the chaotic Wild West that is construction? And then they're going to stay and they're going to get better on every project. And then we have processes that communicate with the client.
Oh, that's great. Dude, that's super valuable. Going back to social, like, you obviously, put a lot of effort into it and you're amazing at it. Like, just tell me, dude, what is like, have you ever attributed like, hey, I actually got this specific deal because of Instagram? And if you're willing to share a number,
sure.
like, what's like the biggest like value of a project that you've gotten directly from Instagram?
Over 20 million.
So you've gotten to see that, and that's what people don't get. You got a $20 million project.
Well, you brought up
because of
Saguaro
Instagram.
Grove, and Saguaro Grove's not 20 million, but it's a phenomenal house.
Yeah.
Like, incredible house. And the clients found me on Instagram, like legit from Instagram. I mean, so many of our clients, here's the thing that listeners and people have to understand in business is today, right now, how do people access information, right? Everyone has a phone, a smartphone. They're on their phone all the time. If you don't have an online presence, if your website isn't formatted for a phone, you're going to lose attention. Not everyone's searching for you on a desktop, right? So you have to be formatted for the vertical side of, and social media is important because what I always tell people and what I found from my clients, there are a substantial amount of my clients that don't have social media, but they do their research and they go and see what we have on social media. So they still are vetting you. They're looking at you. And I mean, you and I have talked about this. I know that when I refer certain architects or designers or trade partners, I have clients that are like, I don't see anything on Instagram. I don't trust them. Like, I can't see it. And so maybe there's a false sense of credibility. And I wouldn't say so much as that, but there is something to be said about someone that is conscious of their brand and their product, because if they're that conscious of putting something online, typically they're going to be that conscious, how they're running their business. And so
I don't even look at Google reviews. I don't look at your website. Let me see your Instagram.
Yeah.
Let me dive in. Okay, now let me see if you tagged yourself. Now who's the owner? Like, okay, can I trust this dude? Like, Instagram's that's dude, it's crazy how the world shifted.
But the thing is too, and that's why you have to diversification. I think it's overwhelming to creators too, in a way, or maybe entrepreneurs. Like, I only have so much time. Well, business development always has to be first and foremost. And the thing is, like, for me, it's easy in a way that I can use the same content on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I can use on all of them. I may format it different for that platform,
Right.
but the content, the video, the photo is the same, and the write-up. And the reason you have to do that is because, so many, and just not to make this like, between male and female, but the reality is most of our—
Brad is not sexist. That's what he's trying to
Exactly. I'm not sexist. But the reality is, on case study after case study and after client and after I ask them, the wife is always on Instagram,
Yeah.
right? So they're seeing that. The husband typically doesn't have Instagram, but they're on LinkedIn. And so you're accessing a different demographic on both. And of course, a lot of the women are on LinkedIn too. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of, my clients may be on one platform, not all of them. But, I go through my followers, and yeah, we have a big female following on Instagram
Yeah.
because, we have content that speaks to them, right? And process of communication, which
Kitchens
matters.
sell, right?
Yeah,
And
they do.
the female is usually the one in most cases that loves the kitchen.
Right.
And that's, those are the hype reels that we want to see. We want to see the kitchen. It's the heartbeat,
And great design. I mean, the reality is, like, these families are living in their home. We saw the pandemic change how we do exteriors, right, and outdoor areas, because if all your rights are going to be taken from you and you're confined in your house, what do you have? Do you have an office where kids are doing Zoom for, online school? I mean, so many things have changed that, home gyms, exercise, wellness. I mean, wellness has been a big thing, cold plunge and red light saunas, and, even the health of, like, the air conditioning and water filtration, all these things that go into homes that we build.
So you're really good at, like, getting in front of the camera and talking. Like, you do a lot of that. You turn the phone around, whatever. Like, was that always easy? Was it awkward? Was there a point where, like, oh, I hate doing this, but, like, I know there's an ROI on this, or did it just come naturally for you to just sit there and talk and tell people about stuff?
It was never natural, and there was never an ROI that I thought would ever come.
Yeah.
And I think, like many of us, like, the first time I heard my voice, I'm like, that's really what I sound like? That's crazy. Like, it just, like, is appalling, right? When you hear yourself talk, how other people hear you. And so over time, like, I would be pretty nervous. And it's just, as you speak to people, Dusty, as I do, I mean, the thing is, why are people so good at public speaking? Why are they so good in front of others, right? It's because they know the content. Like, at the core of it, the people that are really good, it's because they really understand the content. When you understand the content, you have confidence. And so find different ways that you're confident about something of your product or your brand or what you are, what you're selling. And if you're confident, then speak about that. And people are attracted to confidence. And over time, like, you get better. For me, I mean, keep in mind, I've been doing Instagram, 10 years, I have like 3,500 posts, a post a day for 10 years. Like, I really haven't, I've done a podcast for 6 years. So I've done a podcast every week, haven't missed in 6 years. I've done, consistency is a big part of that. So just learning and repetition and over of years and years.
Do you try and post every day intentionally? Or
Always post every day. Yeah, every single day we post. And again, you could get lost in the algorithms, like what time of day and when my audience, it doesn't matter. I mean, things go viral, things don't. Just be consistent. Just post and post and post. And, certain things you spend a lot of time on to edit and create this awesome video, and it does nothing. And then you do something with your phone, it just takes off. The reality is there's no rhyme or reason, but just post, be consistent, and find ways to be creative. I always give an example, and again, this could be for any field, even though this is related to construction. A friend of mine, Kyle Stumpenhorst, who he builds, like, barns, like these are like barns in Illinois.
For animals, like,
Or
they more
when
for,
he
like,
started, they were for, like, animals on farmlands, and then they turned into, like, toy barns and toy garages.
Yeah.
But the point being, like, whether it was the end result as this toy barn or barnasium, a pickleball or whatever, or it was just, like, for grain, or produce, like, the point is he was showing, he'd put a GoPro as he's digging out, the dirt right as it's coming out. And he's doing a GoPro, and he was doing drone stuff really early on. And he's doing a GoPro on his nail gun. And so the point being is, like, my kids watch slime videos all day. Like, people are just attracted to certain things. And so he's found a way in the most boring construction ever, just building, like, a big warehouse, to that he has massive followings, millions of followers on TikTok and YouTube. And the thing is, the end result is not what I'm putting out. He's not putting out this incredible kitchen. He's putting a huge open barn that people use for whatever. But the way he's documented that is very successful. And so point being is, you don't have to have a big following. You don't have to have signature projects. You don't have to, like, for you, Dusty, you may not have had to sell clothing to, like, the most premier company in town, but you can show your thought process and mentality and things you're confident about. And over time, yeah, the more you're behind camera, the more comfortable you'll be.
I think people, you touched on it, they appreciate the transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I think people love that's how I learn. Like, I would just love to go tour factories or see, like, how's chocolate milk made or whatever. Like, to me, that's cool to see behind the scenes.
It's just different, yeah.
And I think you do an incredible job of showing people, behind the curtain, like, here's a pool at when it's, getting steel, here's, this is, I think you post something the other day on like, one of the thing was like the behind underneath the pavers,
Yeah,
right? There's
yeah.
like
It's
cool, like,
funny. I was just gonna bring that up.
yeah, it's like people love seeing that
Yeah.
because I hate when I get all that water corrosion, whatever on top. It's like there's so many
Yeah,
cool
the
things.
calcium. And that's the point. It's like, see, this is something simple. It's like, and what Dusty's speaking about is you have this paver, and a lot of times you put like a concrete or grout, you set the paver on a deck. Well, when it rains and water gets on there, it's not porous, the water can't get out, you get calcium buildup. It's a pain, right? And so they have a new product that essentially the water just goes through these channels, but it's as
Almost
hard
like
as
a lava
concrete.
rock, I
It's like a
felt.
lava rock,
It's really
exactly.
cool.
It's a
Is it
great analogy.
expensive or?
No, and so you mix it, and it looks like almost like crunchy nerds,
Wow.
like the candy, right? As you're mixing it,
Nothing
it's
like a
kind of
good
powder-
nerd rope,
like,
man.
Yeah,
Just
like
lay
a
some
good
nerd ropes out there, put the pavers
chewy
on.
nerds, a bunch of chewy nerds out there that have melted.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's just it's like a lava rock, so the water can hit and porcelain. So showing those details, gets a simple story. There's no camera crew. I mean, I'm taking from my iPhone. It's a 45-second video, and I probably had 56 comments on that.
That's
Of
crazy.
people like, what product?
What
I
adds
wanna use
value?
that.
It's
Just value.
transparency.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And again, let's talk about the influencer side. From your brand, the partnerships. I have partnerships with, tens of brands, right, throughout the country, and great brands. And the reason being is because they look at that, they see you have a platform, they see that you believe in the product. And so there's partnerships, there's additional revenue outside your business. There's other things that help you become, a little bit more, I don't want to say solvent, but as more in a position that you're going to be here for long term.
Well, that's a kind of a snowball effect because I'm sure that's helped you financially. I'm sure that's helped your clients. Like you've grown this incredible following and do an incredible job telling the story. Now, why wouldn't people like Pella Windows and all these companies want to start the partnership? So talk a little bit about, kind of the trades and the vendors and like how that's blown up because of your success.
Yeah, I mean, as the brand we're putting out, Sub-Zero Wolf, who we partner with on pretty much every project, and software that we use. And so many of these brands, Kohler, right? Kohler's $1 billion company. I mean, this is a massive company that's in, golf. They're in, in the hotel industry. They're in plumbing. They're in so many different aspects, sustainability. But we partner with them, right? And in a lot of ways, I'm a really small fish, but there's a really specific demographic that appeals to Kohler and my clientele, that there's a partnership there.
But
So
if you didn't have your social following,
I'd be nobody.
okay, I'm glad you like.
And
but
here's
even if another builder was doing the same amount of revenue with the same product and killing it, but Brad has his following, they still would pick you because of the following, clearly.
100%. And what's funny is we were building for a client. This is years ago, and this is kind of your.
But they might not be as handsome though.
This is your case point. Is that this client? They made a ton of money in multifamily. They do multifamily all over the country, whether they're big apartment units on universities, whether they're condos, right? And so his experience, I mean, keep in mind, he's 60 years old. So it blew his mind. Like he just could not get his head around. The Kohler's going to call me and give me discounts or free product because I'm doing, at the time I was doing like 7 homes a year. And he's like, Brad, I'm doing like, 8,000 units a year.
Jeez.
So Kohler's coming to me, and yeah, I'm getting discounts because of volume. But yet here you are, no volume compared to me, but yet you're getting way better pricing, way better market share than I am. And that was kind of eye-opening because, again, it's because of social media that I had that people say, okay, the product AFT's putting out, we trust it, it's reliable. If Brad's going to speak about it, if the team's going to speak about it, then it must be something we want to buy for our home. And so the manufacturers see the value in that, and that's why they align themselves with people that are reputable.
People want to align, well, because you're transparent and because you're consistently posting too, people can see who we align with, right? I think it's the biggest thing, and we're starting to get into a lot of B2B and sales, and it's like some companies, we don't even know who they are, what they stand for. We see the products, but it's like we really care about in business, and who we do business with is like, who's the one calling the shots? What are their core beliefs? Who are they? And so I think that's one of the greatest things where, your content's not always extremely formal or well produced or whatever. You'd say sometimes that might do better, but at least we're seeing who you are. And I think it's, we hear the word authenticity a lot. I think that's one of the biggest things is like, who are you? Who am I doing business with?
I love that because it's like people hire who they like, right?
Yes.
I mean, you see like malpractice lawsuits in the medical industry. like 95% of malpractice lawsuits are because they didn't like the doctor. Like, even if because sometimes stuff goes wrong in surgery, but they like their doctor and they work doing it and they never sue them.
Dude, bro, think if doctors were better. Like, we don't know. We go to a hospital and like, think if a doctor was like showing his surgeries.
Look
and
at
like,
plastic surgeons, the
dude.
really successful ones that build social media. Look at Brian Harris, what he's done, the cross
Yeah.
branding. You know, we kind of touched on this, but Brian, what's funny is he's done my veneers, just being open, but I have like 15 clients of mine that have done their veneers with Brian because of the cross branding and them finding his page. I have people that are building homes with me because they found me through Brian. And so cross branding between industries, and again, people that trust you because you're putting out that content, and there's trust. I will tell you, I am guilty of this too. There's product I've purchased because there's people I trust, or, that use something that's been successful. It's hard to go onto Amazon or Costco and see the reviews and go through it. I mean, if you have something you trust, it's,
Yeah, you trust me, and
Yeah,
you
if I
trust
trust
UNIE
Dusty's,
uniforms, right? And like everyone should
UNIE's
buy.
in. Like, if
Yeah.
Dusty's behind it, I'm in.
There we go.
It's a
You
slam
heard it
dunk.
first.
Yep.
That's so cool. So, I want to touch real quick on like the barrier of entry you were talking about. I have so many friends where I'm like, oh, you should get into construction, or so many kids like love Bob the Builder, and like construction's just cool, right?
Yeah,
Everyone wants to go play on a tractor and do all these things. But you've talked, and it's almost frustrating because you've talked about, hey, you were going to go out of business or going to shut down 5-6 years ago. You found this elite club. You had to get voted in. And then you talk about also like there is, like another elite club with the designers and the architects and all this. Like, it's almost, do you feel it's like, it's so frustrating for a 25-year-old kid to get into this industry? Like, how would you, if you had to start all over again, or, if you had a 22-year-old kid, like, how can you do it? It seems impossible.
Well, I'm an old timer now. So yeah, so for me and my generation or those older, like, it was impossible. No one shared in construction. It's very tight knit. They're not going to tell you trade secrets, we'll call it. It's different now. Social media has changed that. Like, you could reach out to builders across the country, non-competitive, even if you're not in some elite group, and they could say, hey, this is what I charge. This is how I do it. This is the software I use. Here's the business I run. We see this all the time, right? I started with a group of partners, the Coalition Summit, where we're teaching builders how to run their company and be efficient, so that they don't have to kind of go through the painstaking idea of running their business like I did. Because there's this, they can say a bad builder that's good at business will stay in business, but a great builder who's bad at business will fail every time, right? And it's the same, like, if you understand business, but now there's so many resources. There's education, there's platforms, there's builder shows, there's so many resources online and through other builders. So it's just different now. So young kids need to get in there. I mean, the reality is trade labor is leaving. Kids, I went to college. I'm telling people that you can forego college, no debt, at 18, 19. I have 2 nephews that went, one into plumbing, one into steel, and they're making incredible money.
So
out of high
trades are a
school.
good way to get in.
Trades are better.
Okay.
I would honestly say, people look at me as a GC, as a general contractor.
Yeah.
Don't do what I do. Go be a trade partner.
Start there.
Start there.
Because I'm 22 years old. Let's say someone's going to trust you this year with a $50 million house, okay, or $40 million house. How do you go from 22 to that? You're saying step one, I would probably get really good at electric or plumbing, probably.
Well, it just depends. Okay, so if your goal is to do a house, then yeah, you have to get in with a general contractor and learn that way. You're going to what I'm telling you, Dusty, I'm telling you from being in the industry, you're going to make way more money owning a steel company or a framing company or a trim carpentry company than I'll ever make.
Right.
Doing a $50 million home. So if you're 18 and 19, you have no school debt, you go learn the craft, you're making $30 an hour, minimum, right? And more as the years go. You're making 6 figures, years down the road, easy, in the trades, in the field. Yes, it's hot in Arizona in the summer, right? It's cold in Utah in the winter. Like, you're going to deal with the elements. That's part of it. But the reality is you'll make a lot of money. You have no debt. You're just learning a profession. And by the time you're 30 years old, and it could be 25, it could be 35, but whatever. But essentially 10 years of working, you've made money. Like, you've had a great living, and now you go start a business and you learn the business side and you'll flourish. And I'm telling you, right now, our economy, there's always a need for construction, always. And
trades are dying.
They're dying, and so many have left, and so many are unskilled. It's just wide open. So my point being is I have 2 nephews, one that's in steel and one's in plumbing, and they're making incredible money, more than all their friends that are in school. And what I'm telling you is when they come out, every single one of them, and again, this may hurt us because there's people going into medical field, which we need lawyers and doctors and all that.
We don't need any more lawyers. No more lawyers.
Yeah, no more lawyers. we probably, there'll be others doing dental school. I'm telling you, these kids that are coming out in the trades and starting businesses, I have a few of my trade partners doing garage doors, doing countertops, doing some of these businesses. They're making way more than any white collar profession out there. And
That's crazy.
it's not viewed like it was, years ago. Trade school's been out of high schools for years, and everyone said you have to go to college. You don't. There's so many opportunities now.
Yeah, I mean, and so did you do electric or something?
I was an electrician.
Yeah.
Yeah, good memory. Yeah, I started.
And that's helped you, I would assume, like understanding, like.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I think, with my business, there definitely is an element to understand all the trades that are involved, from framing to concrete to electrical. And so my electrical background helped me a lot. And I think even more, look, at the end of the day, I'm not installing it every day. And so there's a technical side I may not know. But here's what I do know, and this is maybe what makes us different than anyone else. I remember what it was like getting out, and I worked in Arizona when I'd come out from San Diego or El Centro and Yuma. I remember what it felt like in July to maybe have a late night or a rough night, or maybe I was doing some personal stuff and have to show up and get bags on at 5 a.m. and put those bags on and sweat and be exhausted and have a builder yelling at me that I had to get this done by this timeline. And the point being is management is such a key part of business, and especially what we do. What's really tough for our supers is you have to be really firm. Don't confuse my kindness with weakness, but at the same time, you have to be, you have to show them that there's sympathy there, right? And so the point being is being in the trades, I know what it's like when I did insulation and how hard that was. And so I have more appreciation for how long durations are to finish projects. And
You've been in the trenches.
yeah, I've been in the trenches. And so that's where it's been great from a management perspective, even if you may not have all the technical understanding.
Jeez. So when I want to help like some of these families right now, I guess, who are looking to build a custom home. They're interviewing custom home builders. Like, what are some of the, like, I guess you call it myths or like misunderstandings that you would want to advise people on when they're interviewing a contractor or a builder? Like, what advice can you give people and to help them know what to look for? Because it's crazy. It's such an unknown. It really is.
Well, I think the biggest thing that a lot of customers struggle with is they're comparing pieces of paper, right? And what I mean by that, if you're going to buy a car, the car's finished, you're test driving it, you're in it like it's a finished product. Like it came off the assembly line, you're here. And so if you're comparing dealerships, like, or if you're comparing a BMW to a Ford or whatever, Mercedes to a Cadillac, like you understand the product and different.
I've never thought of that. They're selling a product that's done. I'm
selling you a piece of paper.
Yeah, you're selling something that's not even done.
You have this builder saying it's going to cost you
crazy.
$6 million, and this one's saying $7 million. And you're supposed to decipher, well, who's better?
Yeah, and there's no test driving.
Am I getting
Can I test drive the $7 million one?
When I'm buying this piece of paper from this dealership at $80,000, this one for $85,000.
Wow.
What shows up in front of me?
And your job sucks.
Yeah.
Man.
Not only does what show up, but what's that experience like?
Yeah.
How was the communication? How were the change orders? How was the timeline? Were my voices heard? Like, you don't know. Like, you just, and what's really hard is that whole experience. And so what's hard, and this is what's hard for me to communicate too, because we try to pride ourselves, always tell our clients they're sticker shock, but my job is to come to you again to be your guide and be a good client in your investment. My job is to come to you and say, Dusty, your house is going to be $2 million. And you may freak out and say, well, this guy says it's going to be 1.5. And I'm like, when we move in 2 years from now, like, I have a track record of being within a couple % of what I'm telling you.
See, that's crazy.
Because I've been through that. Yeah, but the point being,
that's one thing that you would push is, hey, I can pretty much hit your budget.
I can.
You can say that with confidence.
We just did a home in Mesa that their budget was $4.1 million. And when we were done, we finished at, 4.16. And that 4.16 had 26 change orders of the client's request, not mine, like the client request. The point being is that where I struggle is, like, I lost a job, and I don't competitively bid a whole lot, but I lost a job. And one of the big factors is they had a ton of limestone on the house. So I bid the limestone. I had 3 bids for the limestone, ranged from 170 to 200 grand, some variations. The other builder gave them an allowance of 25,000. Total bait and switch, right? And so, if the client's not looking at this and they're going down saying, well, this guy's 150,000 cheaper. Well, yeah, but look at this one light item. He's giving you allowance. And what that means is he doesn't have a bid, doesn't price it. So if it's 170,000, you owe a change over 150 grand. And you won't know that till,
So let's be honest. They literally are bidding these things way under, thinking, hey, I'm going to save you money.
And that got you pregnant
but then,
now.
Okay. Yep. Exactly.
And that goes back to the
So then,
unethical
so
side.
what? So then the limestone sub comes out. This contractor's out there, and they're already, their balls deep, bro. It's over, right? And so then what do you just say? Oh no, it's not. So that guy just has the audacity to say, "Oh, sorry, I misbid this. This is not 25,000. It's 170," and he's using the same sub that you would have bid with, and now they just have to write a check for 130,000 to make up for it. Like that's how it works.
And the unfortunate side is all three of my vendors that do limestone, because it's not like there's a whole lot had sent this GC those bids. So he had them and he knew what the cost was. And it does. You get down the road and you're like, okay, client, well, what they'll do is say either you have to write a check for that, or we take it off the house and we're just going to put $25,000 worth of product on. So now you change your design. And this happens over and over and over.
Can you look for some lighting on Amazon real quick? See, like,
And so again, and it's not to paint a picture, but in fairness, this
it
is where
it is not. You're not painting a picture. It is what it is. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is, and that sucks. And that sucks for you because people are probably already skeptical when they start to meet with you.
But Dusty, I'm telling you, like what's hard for me, but I'm not going to budge. We know that what our role is, and we know the clients that hire us what their experience is. And I had 3 projects this year that we had been under contract for 18 months, and all 3 of them went with a competitor at the last minute because they were 2% cheaper, 5% cheaper, and one that was 8% cheaper. And it's unfortunate because we have such a database, and we have such a log of product and success. But the thing is, at the same time, it's a complicated business. It's tough for clients, and it's part of the deal. You just understand that going into it. And I try to communicate as best I can, but every project's a little bit different.
Yeah. So no, I think that's incredible. The other feedback that I would love for you to give all the listeners is, can you give just a quick, like, verbatim, like the step-by-step process, just super short, like people don't know, like, do they need land first? How much money they need to save? I guess that's obviously subjective, but people still, like, I think there's a lot of people, especially my age, like getting ready to think, oh, I'd like to build my dream house, my custom home. Like, where do I start? Do I like buy land? Just give them the quick step-by-step process of when do they bring in the design and like all that, just real quick.
Again, it can vary when you bring in designer, build architect. I'll come back to that, but
Give me the dream process.
Yeah, the dream process, you find your land first, right? And the reason being is because, clients will come to me and be like, well, even if we don't have our lot, can we start designing our house to get a head start? Well, the problem is every lot's different. Setbacks, easements, HOA restrictions. So if you're designing something, spend all this money in design, and now you buy this lot, it doesn't fit, or layout's different,
All
or you have to change it, you're paying all
architecture's-
that money.
Yeah, you
You
got to
got to
start
repay
over.
it to start over and redo it. So you always want to have the land first. In a perfect world, like, and I'll go back to the cost side, which is really important. I just had this call yesterday with a client who's going to be building in the East Valley. And the husband's like, I don't know how we can afford it because we got to start making house payments on the new build and construction loan, and we have our existing house. And the wife's like, I don't think that's the case. I'm all, no, because you get a construction loan. So what that means is everyone's financial wherewithal is different, but these institutions will go to you, Dusty, for example, or me, and be like, okay, we're going to give you a $4 million loan to build your house. But you're not making payments on that $4 million. The bank is funding all my draws. So every month I'm billing for the work that's complete. The bank's funding that. You don't have any money out of pocket, except your down payment, or maybe use the land as collateral, whatever that is. So
You have a buffer until it
exactly.
okay.
And when I get C of O, close of occupancy, that's when the loan
The
closes.
interest activates all that.
Interest that they have been paying on will flip into that and do what's called like a one-time close. And so it all is one bundle.
See, a lot of people don't know that. That's good information.
Yeah. And then, like typical 45, 60 days after you get C of O is your first house payment.
Does the bank give you a timeline usually?
Yeah, they do. Because
Okay.
they'll have extensions, and they know, like, hey, we tell the bank it's gonna be 18 months, and they're like, okay, we'll put 24, but then if it's past 24, there's fees or whatever. And so you have to be mindful of that because they don't want their money out there forever. But the point being is that client can go work and build their business and eventually sell their home that they're currently in.
They can make another $1 million
They can make,
essentially.
they can make money so that when that home loan closes, they can either keep their property or flip it and then have this new one, and then the house payment starts. So, but the ideal project is, there's this misnomer, again, that clients go and they're going to make the design, they're going to get the architect, and then we're going to go send it out for bid, right? And this goes back to my example. You have no idea what people are bidding. You have no idea the vendors, the process. You can ask, people as much as you can, but there's so many variables. So the point being is that, and if you've got emotionally attached to this design, you're like, hey, I want to spend $2 million. The architect and designer, as good as they are, they don't price this every day. They're not building it. Pricing's changing all the time. Tariffs, whatever. I mean, things are fluid. So they may have this emotional design, and now it comes time to price it. And they're like, we want to spend 2. It's coming back at 5 million. We can't do our dream now. And you've wasted all this time and emotions and frustration. The best scenario is you find a contractor you trust, right? Cost plus contractor that's open book.
So cost plus. So in summary, you're saying get the land, and then you want to, after the land, then you hire the contractor.
Get the team together.
Yeah, okay.
Architect, designer, contractor.
So you're building this dream team.
You're building the triangle.
And you're saying cost plus. So explain that. That's basically you're going to go out and source everything for them, and then you're just going to put a fee on top, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So I give them my discounts I get. I give them, for whether, because I do a ton of volume. They're seeing every invoice.
And that's huge. Otherwise, cost plus the alternative is I could
Lump
be
sum.
shady because I can pretty much sell you stuff or bill you stuff without you seeing receipts.
Yeah. So like if you're buying a spec home, think of it like this way. Yes, it's move-in ready, it's turnkey, but there's risk in there for the investor, for the builder. So they're building a ton of margin there. They're putting in typically inferior product, cheaper product because they want the biggest margin because they're trying to control their risk. The advantage of doing your own build to suit, yeah, the timeline's longer because you're going through every step of the process, but you're paying cost for exactly what you're putting in. There's no risk factor. And so me as the builder, and I just tell clients, I said, I can do it 2 ways. I've done it both ways. If I'm bidding you lump sum, if I say, Dusty, I'm building your house for $5 million, I'm going to mark up every line item because I know there's going to be drywall and there's going to be incidentals and other things. So I'm building margin across the board. And the cheaper I can do that, if I can go find a cheaper drywall trade, I just made money on drywall and I made money.
You're truly an ally because you don't care what you just want it done right.
Yeah.
But you're getting your fee, but you want to get them
and I want my clients to know how I'm paid.
Yeah.
We do a great product. They know how I'm paid. It's very consistent. And they see the invoices. So there's no funny games that, my vendors can give them all their invoices. We can make decisions. They know what everything costs. So if we have to value engineer, take things off. But
so
even
land, architect, builder, and then the builder,
land and triangle. And
okay.
So once you get the land, get your triangle. And what that means is make sure the architect, designer, and builder get along. Maybe they have a track record working together, or at least they know of each other reputation-wise. Because if you have a good architect, designer, and builder, they're all going to work in your best interest. They're going to create budgets. And that's the advantage, because if you have the builder from day one, now what I do is we know the client's budget. Like there's no cat and mouse game because it's all open book. So we know your budget, and now we're holding the architect and designer accountable to make sure they're staying within those parameters. So when those plans are done, we're still going to be with that original budget, and now we can go build and execute. And so it just puts you at a place where, that whole process is catered and, that white glove, red carpet.
So I think we say designer, but people don't realize the spec books are usually like this thick, right? And so people don't think it's like, how close is the range to this? And like, where does this knob fit? And what color is that? There's probably like 5,000 decisions that the designer makes are like this thick, right?
And that's why the value is there, because, I always tell clients the value of having a designer figure out every edge detail for your tile and countertop is now I can actually go send that detail to 3 different tile or countertop subs and get you the best price. As opposed to if I didn't have a designer, I'd say, okay, Dusty, we got to go to this countertop guy, and we're just open season to like them,
subjective.
doing your house.
Nothing can really be
There's no competition.
So then you have your dream team, your builder, your architect, your designer, your loan's approved, everything's good to go. And then it's just, I would assume you'd get permitting done.
Yeah. So once that dream team's together, that first 3 months you're working on, the floor plan, the elevation, ceiling heights. And then once that's approved, you go into kind of 2 directions. Designers working on the knobs and hardware and cabinetry and flooring and paint. And then the architect's working on civil engineering and mechanical and plumbing and structural, right? They're actually, the bones of the house are being put together. And then once both those parties are completed, now once I have both those documents, I'm going through what's called sharpen pencil hard pricing. We've set budgets. We know the house is going to be $4 million. Now I'm getting quotes to back up what we anticipate it to be per the current plans. And it's also being submitted for permits. So while I'm pricing, the city's reviewing it, which takes a few months. And then it takes us about 8 weeks to price it out. And so we're typically coming back to the client saying, okay, here's all our pricing. We're within 5% of our original budget. Do we need to value engineer, take things off? And once we get that permit and they've agreed on the final price and selections, now we just go build, and the client gets to just enjoy their business and life and come see updates every week.
And from when you break ground, usually on an average size home, like what should people expect?
14 to 24 months. Yeah, depending on the complication of the
So
build.
it's almost a 3-year process.
Yeah.
Like
2.5 to 3 years.
I think that's great value for people because I would assume if you were to meet someone for lunch today that was interested in it, and I asked them before you got there, I said, "Hey, John, how long do you think?" He's like, "Oh, 18 months." Like,
Yeah.
and so
It's
people are probably
minimum
shocked
2.5
by the
years.
3 years.
Yeah, I
Probably.
say it's typically minimum. I mean, probably if it's a smaller house, I don't want to say basic home, more conservative home, you could probably do 2 years. But you're typically at least 2 to 3.5 years is kind of that lifeline from start today to completion.
Yeah, most people don't expect that, I think.
Yeah.
And that's standard. Everyone's like, that's just what it takes.
And I'd rather tell you what it's going to be so you can plan around it as opposed
Right.
to.
You'd actually rather tell people the truth and give them real pricing than tell them it's going to take 12 months and then it's,
Yeah.
that they're.
I do like them to like us at the end, not
Yeah.
for a people pleaser, but just that we've like hit our expectation, you know?
And one cool thing you've always told me is like all your houses, because then I've been to this. I built a house before. It was a nightmare. It was 85% done, and we ended up selling it because we hated it. But you use the term, I think I've heard you say toothbrush ready.
Yeah.
So it's such a cool
Toothbrush
thing.
ready.
So explain that real quick, and then kind of like warranties, like how all that works for
Yeah,
people.
so I mean that goes back to kind of that we do team walks, so we walk with the team, and so we kind of have a closing process where when we get C of O, the clients don't move in for 30 days till after C of O.
Wow. Do
And
they
they're-
hate that? Are they like, screw you,
Well,
my house
that's the
is
funny
done.
thing. If it was today, if I'm telling you, yeah, we got C of O and you're planning on it, but if I tell you 2 years in advance that, hey, we're going to go for C of O in June of 2027, and you're going to move in July of 2027, you know that. July's my date, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
The date's the date, right? But that gives me that month to do that punch ourselves internally, toothbrush ready, get all the programming done for automation, get the swimming pool full, make sure landscaping's all complete, get photography done, get furniture in.
Work out kinks with automate,
Without
all
kinks.
those things.
So
like,
that when you
it's-
walk in, there's nothing worse than moving in your home and people are there every day. And we've been through that with clients and we're stopping that. And so the ideal is toothbrush ready. That house is done. We just did it with Brian Harris. Brian Harris finished. So we did a tour on a Friday, end of February. He comes in with his family and toothbrush in hand. They didn't have the toothbrush in hand, but they show up.
He's a freaking dentist.
He's a dentist.
Come on, Brian. Like,
So he shows up. Brian shows up
the
with his
dentist
family.
couldn't even come toothbrush. I'm frustrated, man.
But it was awesome. Friday morning,
so cool.
we're taking them through the home. And I mean, every single accessories in the home, every plant, every bookcase item on the mantle, the
The
fireplace.
diffusers are on. It's
Yeah.
like every
AC's
detail.
on, house is programmed, furniture's all in.
It's like a
And
hotel.
we give them the tour. Your house is done, and they had moving trucks coming in with a few of their personal items like clothes.
Yeah.
Gym
Gym bags with
gym bags
cats.
and blazers for Brian.
dead rabbits,
dead
I mean.
rabbit gym bags. And they mobilized that afternoon, so we did the walkthrough, and it's done, and that's it. And yes, warranty. We service it. We have a customer liaison that works with our clients, and so as things come up, which they do, and we tell the clients, I mean, that house was an incredibly detailed home. And we always say, live in here for 30 days. Sometimes, adjusting cabinets, or you may see a paint touch up. I mean, we're here. We'll come out in 30 days. We'll be here in 6 months. We'll be here in a year. So, and if something's urgent, we'll be here tomorrow or tonight or in
crazy.
20 minutes.
It's so cool, man. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. This has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So
I respect you a ton, Dusty. You're one of the finest people I've ever met, and your reputation's like that. I think everyone should hear it on the air. So whether it's you or your brand, I mean, anyone that says Dusty Williams, it's in the highest respect. So kudos to you, man.
appreciate it, man. We're super excited about what we're doing at UNIE. We just want to make, like, you're making the most beautiful homes in the world. We want to make the most beautiful uniforms and help
I like
empower the working class, give them something to be proud of, to wear to work. So
We need it.
no, we really appreciate you coming on.